Yes, good morning to all of you. I don't know why you have to come when it is raining also. You know, it's basically about the desperation of jobless growth, right? We should show this to our chief economic advisor, who says that in India there is full employment, right? So let us come back and look at what we were discussing yesterday. We started our discussions with regard to union-state relations. So what we have mentioned is that our constitutional makers did not want to leave any kind of ambiguity regarding the status of union and state relations. They have opted for a very, very strong center and much weaker states. The objective was to protect the unity and integrity of the nation and nothing else, because of the conditions that were prevailing in the country at the time of independence. So they have opted for a strong center. That was the reason why we mentioned that our constitution is federal in form but unitary in spirit. And we have seen all those unitary as well as federal features, right? We have seen all those unitary and federal features. Unitary features, we have mentioned Article 1, which describes India as a union of states. On the other hand, if you look at United States of America, the states are mentioned in the name of the country itself, United States of America. Whereas in India, we do not call United States of India. It is only Union of India. And we also have only a single citizenship. And Articles 3 and 4, wherein the Parliament can create, destroy, rename, change boundaries, convert UTs into states, states into UTs, with only simple majority on the floor of the House. And it is not considered as a constitutional amendment under Article 368 also. And the consent of the states is neither necessary nor sufficient. As we have discussed in our previous classes, there were instances. UP state government has passed a legislation demanding the division of UP into 4 states, which was ignored by the central government. And Andhra Pradesh state government, Andhra Pradesh State Legislative Assembly has rejected the presidential motion regarding division of Andhra Pradesh into Telangana. Still, the Parliament went ahead and divided divided the state of Andhra Pradesh. So proceeding further, we have also mentioned the emergency provisions, which you normally don't find in any other federalistic federal democracies. We also have spoken about the governor, appointment of governors, discretionary powers of governors, and 3 types of emergency: national emergency, then presidential and financial emergency. And then we also have spoken about a single election commission, single CAG, and then finance commission. Even though it is a constitutional body, the setting up of finance commission is part of what is called unitary features of our constitution. And we also have spoken about this Rajya Sabha, composition of Rajya Sabha. We do not have what is called symmetrical federalism. We have asymmetrical federalism. So these are all, and then of course constitutional amendment process, wherein the states do not have any role in amending the constitution. If you remember, while discussing about fundamental rights, one of the criticism that we have made against fundamental rights is that the states are not given any kind of opportunity to participate in amending the fundamental rights, and it is only be done by the central government. And then federal features, we have mentioned, you have a written constitution, then there is division of subjects between the union and the state governments, and we have independent judiciary, and the original jurisdiction of our Supreme Court includes resolving the disputes between the union and states. So these are all what we said, the federal features. But when we talk about the relative unitary and federal features, you can see that these federal features are only for administrative purposes, because in the beginning itself it was realized that a country as vast and as diverse as India cannot be governed from a single place. That was the reason why administrative decentralization is necessary. Administrative decentralization is always necessary, and that's the reason why we have these federal features. So ultimately, as we have mentioned, states in India have only been created for administrative purposes. They are only administrative entities without having any political identity. That means people of the country cannot say that they are citizen of a particular state. From north to south or east to west, all of us are only Indians. So this is what we have mentioned. Let us proceed and look at other aspects of our union-state relations. So when our constitutional makers, when they sat down to divide the subjects between the union and state governments, when they sat down to divide the subjects between the union and state governments, they had followed what is popularly known as the principle of subsidiarity. They had followed principle of subsidiarity, popularly known as subsidiary principle. What is this principle of subsidiarity? It was decided that those functions which can be performed best at the lowest level should be performed only at the lowest level, whereas those functions which cannot be performed at the lowest level can be transferred to the higher levels. When they decided, how did they decide this division of subjects? Don't worry, I'll just dictate these things, right? These are important things, so I'll dictate a few lines. So what did they do? When they decided regarding the division of subjects between the union and states, there must be some kind of a formula. That formula is, as we have mentioned, the subsidiary formula, subsidiarity. What does it mean? These subjects are divided on the basis of what we call administrative convenience. Those activities which should be performed, which can be performed efficiently at the lowest level, are given to the state governments. Those activities which cannot be performed by the state governments are delegated upwards to the central government. For example, drinking water, sanitation, roads, hospitals, schools, local self-governments, agriculture, law and order, all these functions that can be performed only at the local level. Central government cannot do much about all of them. Central government will not be able to do anything. If you are sitting in Delhi and talking about drinking water in remote villages of Tamil Nadu, how can you provide it? By sitting in Delhi. It is not like through e-governance you will provide e-water also, right? It has to be it has to be done physically. So you have to take into consideration what are the conditions, how to provide, and it has to be part of state list. Similarly, state governments cannot decide what should be India's foreign policy. They won't be able to decide because they don't have either the resources or the capabilities. State governments cannot decide how much the country should be spending on defense. They cannot decide how to maintain communication systems in the country. They cannot decide what kind of transportation policy should be there. These are all part of what we call union list. So when our constitutional makers divided the subjects into these three categories, union list, state list and concurrent list, they were doing so on the basis of what is called this principle of subsidiarity. That is what you can write. Division of subjects. Division of subjects between the union and the state governments between the union and state governments was done on the basis of it was done on the basis of the principle of subsidiarity. The principle of subsidiarity by our constitutional makers. It means those activities, which can be performed best, at the lowest level, are part of the state list, and those functions which cannot be performed by state governments are delegated upwards, to the central government. For example, agriculture, law and order, health, education, drinking water, sanitation, social forestry, sanitation, social forestry, FORESTRY, and local self-governments are part of the state list, whereas defense, internal security, external affairs, communication, transportation are part of a union list. So this is what we say. This is how they have divided. What you call it as a, yes. Social forestry means basically, in the villages they can grow some kind of plants and trees, right? This is part of agriculture. Right? And it is not like a complete forest, gardening and all these kind of things. Social forestry, For example, if you look at the reports which are published by Ministry of Environment and Forests, they keep on saying that India's forest cover is improving, right? And what is the catch there? They will include all this social forestry as part of a forest cover. There are 3 trees continuously at one place, then they will call it as an intense deep forest. Right? That is the reason why within the government we say lies, damn lies, and government statistics. The worst kind of lies. Right? Yes. We will talk about all of them. Just now we have started. Wait. You are always in a hurry. Right? You are always an angry young man trying to revolutionize the entire system within 2 minutes. Right? Wait for some time. We have just started. Right? So this is what we say, this division of subjects and powers is on the basis of the principle of subsidiarity. That means they were mostly what is called practical in terms of dividing the subjects. They had realized the fact that there are activities which have to be performed at the lowest level, wherein the role of the central government can be very little, minimum. For example, at the local level only they can decide where the hospital should be there, primary healthcare centers. At the local level only they will decide how many schools that are needed. Someone sitting in central in Delhi, can he decide how many schools are required in Kerala? No, that has to be decided by the local self governments and the state governments. That is the reason why this kind of division had taken place, to facilitate what we call better governance. To facilitate better governance. Next, proceeding further, what do we say? We say that broadly these center-state relations are divided into three categories: legislative relations, administrative, and financial. The center-state relations are broadly divided into these three categories: legislative, administrative, and financial. Basically, what do these legislative relations talk about? They talk about the respective powers of the central and state governments related to making legislations on the subjects that are mentioned in the Constitution. Respective powers of central and state governments. Administrative relations basically talk about the respective powers of the central and state governments to implement the legislations that are being framed the basis of the division of subjects. And financial relations basically talk about how to divide the financial resources between the center and the states. So these center-state relations are broadly divided into these three categories: legislative, administrative, and financial. As we proceed, I will give you the important articles also related to legislative, financial, and administrative relations. And as we keep on saying all the time, at the end of the day, this kind of division is mostly for academic purposes. Why? Because our constitutional makers had given extraordinary powers to central government to take over any of the activities performed by the state governments through what is called emergency provisions. For example, when national emergency is imposed, Article 352, you will say that the center-state relations are suspended in favor of the central government. State governments can be there, state legislative assemblies can make laws, but those laws will have to be within the domain or the laws made by the parliament. When Article 356 is imposed, that is what is called President's rule, the state government will come under directly the rule of the central government. Similarly, when it comes to financial relations, these financial relations are also highly skewed in favor of the central government. For example, if Article 360 financial emergency is imposed, again all the state budgets have to be ratified by the parliament. States cannot impose any new taxes. All their state money bills have to be ratified by the parliament. And the central government can reduce the salaries, allowances of any class of employees. So, this division between the center and states is only for administrative purposes, but at the end of the day, central government is given extraordinary powers by our constitutional makers. For example, as we proceed, we will see that when a state legislative assembly passes a bill, the governor of the state has more discretionary powers than the President of India. The governor of the state can reject any ordinary bill. We are not talking about money bills. Any ordinary bill, any number of times, without giving any reason also. Assembly proposes, governor opposes and disposes. That is what it is. For example, you can see right now there is so much of not conflict. Conflict is a small term. War going on between the Tamil Nadu governor and Tamil Nadu State Assembly. Tamil Nadu State Assembly passed NEET bill twice. It was sent to the governor. Governor had rejected the bill twice. He said that he will reject many number of times also. Let the assembly not waste its time in passing the bill because he will anyway reject them. That is what we say. So this is where center-state relations had become completely controversial. So when our constitutional makers had come out with the center-state relations, the biggest mistake they have committed was when they came out with all these relevant articles, especially Article 163 and 164, which had become controversial recently in Tamil Nadu. These articles gave huge amount of discretionary powers to the governor without any accountability. When you have so much of power without accountability, what happens? It can result in dictatorship. And that is what happened in most of the states since independence, especially when those states are ruled by opposition parties. There has been a gross misuse of the discretionary powers by the governors. And recently, Tamil Nadu state governor went to the extent of removing a cabinet minister also without the recommendation of the chief minister. Finally, he had withdrawn in the middle of the night. He said that he would be staying that implementation of that order. Otherwise, he would have been removed. The minister would have stayed. So that was the reason why. So what is the problem in all these things? Why? Because as I said, when our constitutional makers have sat down to formulate the constitution, when the office of was discussed, as you know, it had taken them 2 years, 11 months and 18 days to frame the entire constitution, even though it was a bag of borrowed material, because in those days there was no internet so that you can cut, copy and paste, right? So in spite of taking so much amount of time, when it came to the discussion related to the office of governor, they spent all of 1 day to discuss the office of governor. They thought that the office of governor would never become controversial. It would never become controversial. Why? They were very intelligent. Why? Because they thought that the Congress party would be in power forever, both in the states as well as at the central level. Then where is the question of controversy? That on the basis of that assumption, they had given so many discretionary powers to governors without having any kind of accountability. In the future, they never knew that one person would come with the dream of a Congress Mukt Bharat. Right? Right? His dream would be fulfilled by another person. Right? So, belonging to Congress only. Right? Two people would be working tirelessly. Right? So that is what happened. So that is the reason why there is so much of controversy. So what we have to do as part of our analysis, we have to look at all the controversial issues in center-state relations. Because as I said, in our main examination in polity governance paper, there will be at least one question in 15 markers and another question in 10 marker, 25 marks only from this center-state relations. And apart from this, in the recent 4 or 5 years past, there were 3 essay topics from center-state relations. One essay topic was cooperative federalism. It was asked for 250 marks. Another topic was center-state financial relations. It was asked for 125 marks. And another topic was this interstate river water tribunals, sharing of interstate river waters. It was also asked for 125 marks. So when we are discussing all these interstate relations in the next few days or so, we will be covering all of them. And almost every alternate year, one topic is asked by UPSC related to center-state relations in your general essay. So whatever we are discussing will not only be important from your polity governance point of view, but more importantly for your general essay also. And of course, some of the topics are asked in your Indian economy also. For example, GST, it was asked in Indian economy. Niti Aayog, it was asked in Indian economy. So FRBM, it was asked in Indian economy. So there are topics which are what is called interrelated, both linked to polity and economy. So we will be looking at all of them also. So let us start with the union-state relations. Now we can write down major issues in union-state relations. Major issues in union-state relations. Towards the end, I will give you all the important facts about all the articles. Right? Major issues in union-state relations. What are the major issues in union-state relations? First, a tendency of first one, tendency of the union government, tendency of the union government to shift subjects from state list to union and concurrent list. Union and concurrent list. Next, tendency of union government, next issue. Tendency of union government to make legislations for items in the state list, for subjects in the state list. Last year this was asked in our mails. For subjects in the state list. Tendency of the union government to make legislations for subjects in the state list. Next, power of governor, power, P-O-W-E-R, of governor to refer bills passed by state legislative assemblies, for presidential approval, Next, discretionary powers of governor, regarding discretionary powers of governor regarding appointment and removal of chief ministers, and also giving assent to the bills, ASSENT, to the bills passed by state legislative assembly. Next, imposition of Article 356. Right. Next, All India services. These are all issues which result in confrontation between the center and states. Next, issues in center-state financial relations. Next, issues in center-state financial relations. These are the ones which you have written are related to administrative and legislative relations. Now, major issues in center-state financial relations. Because financial relations, there are so many conflicts, that's why we are talking about them separately. Major issues in center-state financial relations. First one is a finance commission. And terms of reference, TOR. Terms of reference, TERMS, terms of reference, REFERANC, of a finance commission. Next, vertical and horizontal devolution of tax revenues. Vertical and horizontal devolution of tax revenues. Next, implementation of GST. Implementation of GST. Problems in implementation of GST. Next, cess and surcharge. CESS and surcharge. SURCHRGA. Imposed by Union government. Cess and surcharge imposed by Union government. Next, centrally sponsored schemes. Centrally sponsored schemes. Centrally sponsored schemes. Next problem is sharing of revenues. From auctioning of resources, auctioning of natural resources. From auctioning of natural resources. Next, disinvestment. Disinvestment and sale of public sector enterprises. Disinvestment and sale of public sector enterprises. Next, special category status. Special category status demanded by some states. Special category status demanded by some states. Right. Next, pay commission recommendations. Pay commission recommendations. Next, role of Niti Ayog. What is the role of Niti Ayog? Role of Niti Ayog. Next, disaster relief. Disaster relief provided to states. Disaster relief provided to states. So these are all some of the important issues in center-state relations. Of course, we will discuss all of them one by one, so you don't have to worry, right? If there are no problems, we will create problems and discuss the author, right? So we don't have to worry. Next, what are the other issues in center-state relations? Next one is you can write interstate sharing of. Next one is sharing of. In general, what are the other issues? Next one is sharing of river waters. Sharing of river waters. Sharing of river waters. Another issue here is sharing of river waters. Next one is creation of new states. Creation of new states. Pardon? Interstate, not union state, not interstate, union state. It is interstate as well as union and state also. When Tamil Nadu and Karnataka are fighting, who has to resolve the fight? Central government. Central government. That's why we say it is interstate as well as union state problem. Pardon? We'll talk about all of them. Just wait for everything, right? So wait for everything. We'll talk about all of them, right? So coming back, these are all of you are getting unnecessarily emotional, as I keep on saying, not required, because our job is to get into civil services. So you have to be careful while writing answers also. You cannot be getting emotional about your state and say that the central government should be abolished. The central government is acting like a terrorist. Because you are getting into all India services. Your loyalty should be towards central government. So don't worry. So these are all the major issues in center-state relations. We will discuss, demand for grants also we will discuss. Don't worry, people are getting highly impatient, right? What is Article 356? We will discuss a lot about Article 356. So coming back here, these are all the major issues in center-state relations. Then let us proceed further. So if we have to discuss all these major issues, then we should know in the first place why all of them had become major conflicts. We should know why. For that, we must have good knowledge about, as we keep on saying, the political history of India. When and why they had become controversial issues. That is the reason why what we say is that we will divide these union-state relations into various time periods, as we discussed with legislature, president, executive, and judiciary. We will divide union-state relations into various time periods. What are the time periods? First one is this 1947 to 67. What do we call it as? We call it as a unitary state. First, what we call it as unitary state. Second, 1967 to 1990. We call this as the period of confrontation. Period of confrontation between the union and the states. Right? Between union and states. All the issues that we have mentioned now had become controversial during this period. Then from 1990 till you can say 2019, you can say it is a period of cooperative federalism. cooperative federalism. And from 2019 onwards, what we have witnessed is strong dominance by union government. And a complete control and dominance by union government from 2019. Maximum number of questions are asked from this phase only. But of course, if you have to understand this one, you should know what happened in the past also. So that is what you can take. You can say that the union-state relations in India, you can say that these union-state relations in India have undergone various changes over a period of time. And those changes are divided into these time periods. First one is unitary state, second one is confrontation, third one is cooperative federalism, and again the fourth phase is again strong dominance by the central government. So what do we say here? How do we divide them? What is the basis? As we have already seen, all these center-state relations are highly skewed in favor of union government. Our constitutional makers made no secret about what kind of federalism they wanted. They wanted a federalism which was strongly tilted in favor of union government. They wanted the state governments to be only some kind of what we call administrative entities, not having any real powers. But when we talk about the dynamics of our federal relations, we say that it was influenced more by the political circumstances than by constitutional provisions. That is the reason why we say constitution and polity. Constitution at the end of the day is only a static document that provides details about how governance can be or should be carried out. But in reality, governance need not be carried out according to the provisions of the constitution. It is mostly carried out according to political circumstances. So that is the reason why when we look at it, since independence, all these union-state relations are mostly influenced by political circumstances than by constitutional provisions. The same constitution is there, but how can we say that it had undergone so many changes? Because of political circumstances. In 1950 also the same constitution, 2023 also the same constitution. But why so many changes? Because of the political circumstances. That is what we have mentioned in the beginning itself. Ambedkar has said that the functioning of the constitution depends on the people and the political parties. People, because they are electing the political parties to positions of power. So let us look at all these four different phases in our center-state relations. As part of that, we will be discussing all those controversial issues also. Right? So let us start with the first phase, unitary state. What happened here? Unitary state. What happened here? So if you look at the political scenario during this period, what would you say? You would say that Congress party was the only ruling political party. It was the only ruling political party, both at the center as well as in all the states. Please remember, Congress party ruled the entire country, both at the center as well as in all the states, continuously for a period of 20 years. Why? Because as we discussed previously also, Congress party was the party that fought for the independence of the country. At the time of independence, the only major political party in the country was Congress party. And people also have voted for Congress party because they wanted to show their gratitude not to the Congress party. And there were no other major political parties in the country. During this period, what were the other political parties? You had Bharatiya Janata Sangh, which had influence in few pockets of the country, the present day BJP. And we had a Swatantra party that Rajagopalachari had started as against the leftist policies of Jawaharlal Nehru. And then we had communist parties whose influence is restricted again to few states, Kerala and West Bengal. And then we had some other smaller parties. Otherwise, there were no major opposition to the Congress party. In the Lok Sabha also, we did not have any opposition leader in Lok Sabha till 1969, when there was a split in the Congress party. Last year in the prelims also the same question was asked. Why? Because for a political party to be called an opposition party in Lok Sabha, it must have minimum 1/10 of the strength of Lok Sabha. Even now also, 2014 and 2019, we don't have any leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, because in 2014 Congress party had 44 seats, and in 2019 there was drastic improvement to 52 seats, from 44 to 52. Party felt so happy. Next elections 52 to 8 seats more, 60, right? So that by 5025 they can come to power, right? So that is what, and the scenario in the country was completely different between 1947 and 1967. So the Congress party was the ruling political party both at the center as well as in the states. Who appointed the governors and chief ministers? Party. Congress Working Committee, the highest policy making body of the Congress party, would appoint the chief ministers and governors. Is there any scope for conflict between the chief ministers and governors when they belong to the same political party? If you look at now also the present day scenario, can you see any kind of conflict between the chief ministers of BJP ruled states and the governors of those states? No. They function as if they are friends for life. On the other hand, if you look at the governors and chief ministers of opposition ruled states, they are enemies forever, right? As some time back, some kind of silly things also were done. I said when the present vice president was the governor of Bengal, there was so much of a fight between the governor of Bengal and chief minister, and both of them have removed each other from the friends list on Twitter also. This you can understand when kindergarten student would be doing those kind of things out of anger. But that is what constitutional authority is. That is the reason why recently in the Punjab assembly session case, Supreme Court has ruled that what can we do when the governors and chief ministers are fighting like this, and they are coming to us for every problem. We expect the governors and chief ministers to behave in a more responsible manner. They are higher constitutional dignitaries. We expect them to behave in a more responsible manner. That means we do not expect them to fight like street dogs, right? Right? So that is what it is. If they are doing like that, what can they do? How can constitutional makers be blamed for those kind of things? In case of Punjab recently, the Punjab governor has refused to convene the session of the state legislative assembly. Budget has to be passed. If the budget is not passed, again it will result in constitutional crisis. The Punjab state government had no option but to approach the Supreme Court. Please direct the governor to convene the state legislative assembly. And immediately governor has said that yes, I am convening. Otherwise Supreme Court would criticize him. Why should the situation come to such a sorry state of affairs? Why? Because the kind of powers that are given to the governors by our constitutional makers without having any thought. Why? Because I said the basic problem had come up because they made the assumption that Congress party would be in power both at the center as well as in the states forever. So between 1947 and 1967, whatever they had imagined proved to be right. Why? Because there was absolutely no conflict between the center and states. The discretionary powers of governors had not become controversial at all. Since the chief minister as well as governors were appointed by the Congress Working Committee, there was no scope for any kind of conflict. And of course, the Prime Minister was Jawaharlal Nehru. After the death of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Jawaharlal Nehru was the number one leader in the country, most powerful leader in the country. He was the leader of the Congress party, the government, as well as the country. There was no opposition to Nehru. No chief minister of a state could really question the authority of Jawaharlal Nehru. Why? Because he was so charismatic leader. Nobody could match the charisma of Jawaharlal Nehru. That was the reason why there was no scope for any kind of opposition, criticism, disagreement by the state chief ministers. On top of it, what did the Nehru government do? In 1950, a presidential order was passed to set up a planning commission. Planning commission had come into existence as an executive organization. It is being set up by an order of the president. As we have discussed earlier, in our administration, there are three different kinds of institutions: constitutional bodies, statutory bodies, and those bodies which are set up by an executive order. Constitutional bodies: president, vice president, speaker, judiciary, UPSC, CAG, election commission. They are all constitutional bodies. Then statutory bodies, NHRC, and then most of these public corporations. They are all statutory bodies. And then bodies which have been set up by an executive resolution, like planning commission and now Niti Aayog. Anyway, we'll talk about all of them as part of our constitutional bodies and statutory bodies discussion, so you don't have to worry. Right? So proceeding further, this planning commission had come into existence as an executive body set up by presidential resolution. So what was the objective of planning commission? Why do we need planning, or what is the objective? I am sure you will be studying these things in your economy. You must have studied. Economy has not been done? Okay. You can always come out with great excuses for not answering the questions. Alright? Yes. So what are we saying here? Why do we need planning? Planning is needed because, very simple, the resources are limited. The objectives to be achieved are unlimited. You need to ensure rapid economic growth, remove poverty, provide employment, improve infrastructure, create industries, and improve the standard of life. The resources are limited. That is the reason why we need planning to make sure that these limited resources are utilized to the optimum possible extent, maximum possible extent, so that you can realize most of the objectives. For example, you take the case of your UPSC preparation also. You need planning because you have only a very limited time. In this very limited time, you have to prepare optional GS so many papers, prelims and mains also. Right? Obviously, you have very limited time. So that is the reason why you need planning. What are you going to study? How many hours you are going to study? And what you will be studying on a particular day. All these kind of things. You need a proper planning. You need to sleep for at least 20 hours a day. Then remaining 4 hours, you have to plan how you are going to utilize your time. Right? Proper planning is required. 3 hours you will plan about how to plan. Remaining 1 hour, you will come out with a plan. And when will you implement the plan? Right? So that is what it is. How many of you have done this kind of planning? Monthly planning, weekly planning, daily planning. Have you done it? How many hours you are going to read every day? And what you are going to read? Yes. How many of you are doing it? Very few people. Very good. Now let us come to those who are raising your hands. Why are you raising hands? You tell me, please. What this is kind of childish behavior? Kindergarten stuff. In school, LKG, UKG, when the teacher asks, have you done the homework? The children will be raising both their hands with so much of happiness. And you are doing like that. Look at the rest of them. They have understood the essence of constitution, sovereignty. Yes, right to privacy. You know, you need right to privacy if you have any secrets. Useless people don't have any secrets, so leave it. Right? So coming back here, please remember you have to plan the things. Otherwise, you cannot clear this examination. This examination cannot be cleared with haphazard preparation. You need at least, as I keep on saying, 8 hours of studies. Of course, when you are attending two classes, it will not be that. But otherwise, you need 8 hours of studies. 3 classes, including optional. No problem, by attending so many classes, you can become classical. Right? Right? So, 3 classes, okay. I mean, GS sometimes you have 2 classes also, right? Current affairs also, okay. Very good. So, can you complain to Human Rights Commission or file a PAL against me? Pawan interest litigation. We have spoken about so many PALs. Personality interest litigation, personal interest litigation, publicity interest litigation. If I ask you to study for 8 hours a day, you will file PAL under Articles 23 and 24. Right? So anyway, you can give me excuses for not studying, but I will only one reason why you should have to study, because you have to clear this examination also. So coming back here, so this planning, our government felt that we needed this planning also, because at the time of independence, as you could see, the country was suffering from so many problems. So the resources were also limited. So it was felt that there must be a planning commission, because we were inspired by what happened in Soviet Russia. 1917, Bolshevik revolution in Soviet Russia, and Stalin had become the emperor. And what did he do? From 1925 onwards, Stalin had opted for what is called 5-year plans. Within a short span of 20 years, by 1945, by the end of the Second World War, Soviet Russia had become an alternative economic superpower, rivaling United States of America. America had opted for capitalism, and Soviet Russia socialism. They have opted for this centralized planning process, with the planning commission was given the responsibility. So our lawmakers after independence felt that we should also have the same kind of development process. Planning commission had come into existence, and from 1951 onwards, we have opted for 5-year plans. And this planning commission consisted of mostly members from various specialists from various fields. So you have a member from economics, one member from agriculture, and then one from industry, and then one from mathematics and statistics, and then one from education and health. Like this, these specialists would come. They would come together and formulate the plans for the entire country. And this planning commission members were nominated by the central government, and they would be formulating the plans for the entire country. That includes the states. State governments were not represented, but the state governments did not oppose the planning commission, in spite of the fact that there was no representation to the state governments in planning commission. To overcome this problem, our government had come out with the NDC, National Development Council, again a statutory body. So a statutory body. That was the reason why this NDC was given the power to ratify the plans formulated by the planning commission. During this period between 1947 to 1967, especially from 1951 onwards, planning commission enjoyed a huge amount of credibility among the states. Why? Because the states felt that the members of planning commission, with their experience and expertise, would come out with the best of the plans that would ultimately result in rapid economic growth and development of the country. Because as I mentioned, we were inspired by the success achieved by Soviet Russia within a short period of 20 years. And that was the reason why planning commission had never become controversial during this period. And of course, the governor, as I said, did not become controversial at all. Even Article 356 also was not controversial during this period. So what is the reason why our constitutional makers have included Article 356 in our constitution? They had included this Article 356 because, again, the objective is to ensure unity and integrity of the nation. So, if any state government, say, is working against national interest, if any state government is moving in opposite direction compared to what our constitutional makers have envisaged, if any state government is going against the central government, then our constitutional makers had given the power to the central government to impose Article 356 in that particular state. And they said that the central government or the governor can recommend for imposition of Article 356 for breakdown of what is known as a constitutional machinery. But our constitutional makers have not defined what is breakdown of constitutional machinery. Similarly, we have discussed with the President of India also. President of India can be impeached for violation of the Constitution. But our constitutional makers did not define what is violation of the Constitution. It is left to the discretion of the policy makers at that particular point of time. This Article 356 can be imposed for breakdown of constitutional machinery. And what is the procedure here? Normally, the governor of the state would send a report to the central government, the Ministry of Home Affairs, that there is a breakdown of constitutional machinery in the state. The state administration cannot be run strictly according to the provisions of the Constitution. So he would say that please impose Article 356, remove the Chief Minister, Council of Ministers, put the Assembly in suspended animation, so that the central government can take over the administration of the state. When Article 356 is imposed, it will be the President who will be ruling the state. Again, the President of India is only a nominal executive. So on behalf of the President, it is the governor who becomes the real executive. And there will not be any people elected government in the state as long as the state is under President's rule. So this is the reason why Article 356 was included. And while including this Article 356 in our Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has repeatedly mentioned that he wanted this Article 356 to be the dead letter of our Constitution. Dead letter means to remain a dead letter of our Constitution. That means he should never be used because it goes against the federal nature of our democracy. State government should be given freedom to run the administration the way they like because they are elected by the people. So he said that this Article 356 should be the dead letter of our Constitution. Ironically, it was the most active letter of our Constitution. Most active letter. When Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister during her 17 years of Prime Ministership, it was used 48 times by Indira Gandhi to dismiss opposition ruled state governments. The much abused article of our Constitution is Article 356. So, where are we talking about now? As I said, till 1967, elections were held simultaneously to both Lok Sabha as well as state legislative assemblies. Simultaneous elections. The question was also asked in our polity governance paper also. We will talk about them as part of electoral reforms later. Even now also, if everything goes well, we will have elections to Lok Sabha in December, January only, wherein there will be simultaneous elections to Lok Sabha and most of the state legislative assemblies also, if the plan goes well. So we can expect early elections to Lok Sabha. Otherwise, elections are to be held in April and May. This year it can be in December, January, because in December around 5-6 states are going to elections. In April, 5-6 more states are going to elections. So the government, central government, want to club the elections of all these states, 11 states as well as Parliament. So till 1967, the elections were held simultaneously. In 1957, what happened? Elections were held, and the Congress Party, as usual, had come to power in all the states except in Kerala. It had come to power in all the states except in Kerala in 1957. So, in Kerala, it was the left parties that had come to power. This communism, has been there in Kerala for a very long period of time. So for the first time in Kerala, left parties had come to power in 1957. And obviously this was not liked by the Congress party, because no ruling political party at the center would like to see opposition parties ruling the states. So what did the Congress party do? They wanted to remove this government using Article 356. That is where the misuse of Article 356 started. So the left front government was there in Kerala. If you look at Kerala, if you look at the demography of Kerala, Kerala is a state wherein you have significant population of all three religions: Hinduism, Christianity, as well as Islam. That is the reason why, if you happen to read today's newspapers also, right, you can see that all the MPs from Kerala, both ruling as well as opposition party MPs, are strongly opposing uniform civil code because of their domestic politics. As we said, unfortunately in the country, the debate about uniform civil code revolves only around politics, but not about gender. So in Kerala, it was the left parties that were in power. So in our political ideologies, we say that we divide them into three different ideologies. One is the leftist, second one is the rightist, third one is the centrist parties. In our country, almost all over the world also the same thing. What about the leftist parties? Leftist parties are basically, their economic philosophy is different. They wanted a dominance of the state or economic activities. Communists. They wanted public sector enterprises. They wanted monopoly of the state. They wanted control of private sector through licenses, quotas and permits. And this is their economic philosophy. When it comes to their political philosophy, they believe in what is called secularism, or in protection of the rights of minorities. On the other hand, you have the rightist political philosophy, which is quite opposite to the leftist. Rightist political philosophy talks about free markets, less role for the state, public-private partnerships. And when it comes to their political philosophy, rightist philosophy is mostly about majoritarian politics. They speak mostly about the interests of majority religions. And the centrist, they are neither leftist nor rightist. They keep on changing their ideology depending on the time. For example, the Congress party is a centrist party. In 1950s, Congress party had introduced this socialism in India. In 1976, Constitution was also amended to include socialism in the preamble. In 1991, the same Congress party introduced capitalism through liberalization, privatization and globalization. So that is what we call a centrist party. A centrist party does not have any kind of rigid ideologies. They keep on changing their ideology depending on the circumstances. That is the reason why it becomes difficult for the these leftist or rightist parties to come to power. But all over the world at this point of time, what you can see is that it is the rightist political parties which are dominating the world, including in countries like France also. As a question that was asked in our polity governance paper, secularism in India is different from France. That is the reason why France is also facing so many issues. As we discussed in India, secularism means treating equal religion, all religions equally and respecting the diversity of the religions. In France, it is about a state not recognizing any religion. That can result in a lot of problems also. So coming back here, the left parties had come to power in Kerala in 1957, which was not liked by the Congress party. And at this point of time, Congress party was headed by Indira Gandhi. Indira Gandhi was the president of All India Congress Committee. Nehru was the prime minister, Indira Gandhi was the president. After 1957 elections, Jawaharlal Nehru had requested the Congress party to relieve him of the duties of prime minister, because his health was not really good. He said that my health is not permitting, so I cannot continue to be the prime minister. But Congress party had rejected his request. Nehru was forced to continue. Even though Nehru had continued, the power has shifted from Jawaharlal Nehru to the syndicate controlled by few leaders in the Congress party. So this syndicate, along with Indira Gandhi, had decided that they did not want this left front government to be there in Kerala. And 1950s, when you study in your international relations, 1950s was the period of this bipolar world, wherein there was this conflict between the NATO and Warsaw Pact, right? Communist and capitalist countries. America's ultimate objective was to remove any of the communist governments anywhere else in the world. And for the first time in the world, a communist party had come to power through democratic means in India. Because anywhere else you see in the world, communist parties are always dictatorial regimes only. Take the case of a Chinese Communist Party. In China, they have only one political party and they call it as democracy also. One political party. In Russia, again, one political party. And Putin had made himself the president of Russia for not only this life, next life also. Right? So that is what it is. That is the kind of democracy they have. So America did not want. America has this CIA, just like our America has CIA. This CIA will do all the dirty work. They will go to the foreign countries. They will assassinate most of these Communist Party leaders. That is what CIA would be doing, right? So it is said that we don't know exactly what the truth is, but at that point of time it was said, newspaper reports. So it was said that this CIA would join hands with the Congress party, because CIA did not like the fact that we had a left front government in India, that too democratically elected. It was said that the CIA would join hands with the Congress party, and they would create communal tensions in Kerala. I said Kerala is a state which is highly communally sensitive because of the significant population of all the three religions. So automatically communal disturbances were there in Kerala. And immediately what did the central government do? Central government had imposed Article 356 in Kerala for a breakdown of constitutional machinery. Jawaharlal Nehru was against imposition of Article 356 because, as we have mentioned, Nehru was mostly a democratic prime minister. But by this time, Nehru's authority, control over the Congress party as well as the government had declined drastically. For the first time in the country, we have seen the misuse of Article 356 in 1959 in Kerala. You create the problem, and then you will tell the state government that you have not solved the problems. That is the reason why we are removing you. That is how the Article 356 has been misused. So this is what happened. Otherwise, between 1947 and 1967, for all practical purposes, the country had only unitary state, because the same political party was ruling both at the center as well as in the states. You can write a few lines about these things, then we can move to the next phase. 1947 to 1967. 1947 to 1967. Unitary state. Write down. During this period, for all practical purposes, the country had witnessed a unitary state in center-state relations. Since the same political party since the same political party was ruling both at the center as well as in the states, both at the center as well as in the states, there was no conflict, between the central and state governments, Chief ministers and governors are appointed by Congress Working Committee, and any kind of differences were mostly resolved within the party. Planning Commission had come into existence through executive resolution to formulate 5-year plans for the entire country. It has enjoyed huge amount of credibility among state governments. Next, Article 356 was never misused. During this period, except in 1959, when Kerala state government ruled by left parties was dismissed for its failure to maintain law and order. So this is what we say about this first phase, right? Otherwise nothing was controversial during this phase. Now let us move on to the second phase. Yes. Right now there is no NDC. This NDC had come into existence to ratify plans. Right now there are no plans. There is no NDC. In place of NDC and Planning Commission, we have Niti Ayog, which we shall be discussing. Right now there is no NDC. So let us proceed to the next phase between 1967 to 1990. We called this as the phase of confrontational federalism. Confrontational federalism. Right? You can write few lines, then we can discuss. When elections were held, simultaneously to Lok Sabha and all state legislative assemblies, in 1967, for the first time opposition parties had come to power. For the first time, opposition parties had come to power in 9 states. This led to the country witnessing true federalism for the first time since independence. Next paragraph. All controversial provisions, provisions in the Constitution, all controversial provisions in the Constitution had become the major source of conflict. Between the union and the state governments. They include first, office of governor, second, discretionary powers of governor, third, misuse of Article 356, fourth, politicization of a planning commission, next, politicization of a planning commission, next, All India services. So that is what we are saying here. So what we are saying here is that this second phase, when for the first time the country had seen 9 opposition parties, in 9 states opposition parties coming to power. That led to conflict. Why? Because our constitution is ambiguous when it comes to most critical aspects of governance. The best example is the powers of governor. Our constitutional makers had given huge amount of discretionary powers to governor without fixing any kind of accountability. On top of it, the decisions of governor cannot be challenged in a court of law also. It is not subjected to judicial review also. So when you are giving so much of power without any accountability, it can always lead to misuse and abuse of those powers. So let us try to see what exactly happened during this period. What exactly during this period? So starting with the governor, if you go by the constitution, why do we need a governor? So the Constituent Assembly also discussed about the relevance of the office of governor. Why? Because if you go by the previous British government, the country was divided into various provinces. Each province was ruled by the governor, and the governor had absolute powers. He was not a nominal executive. The governor was a real executive. He had absolute powers. After independence, we have opted for federal arrangement. As part of this, the subjects are divided into union list and state list, and the state governments are given the power to make legislations as well as implement those legislations. So to do all of them, we have a democratically elected governments at the state level with the state assembly also. The state assembly will be, the state government, the people of the state would be electing members to the state assembly, and any political party that has majority in the state assembly would be forming the government, with the leader of that political party becoming the chief minister, and he will have a council of ministers to support him. So that was the arrangement. Now the question that comes up is, when you already have a democratically elected chief minister and council of ministers at the state level, the question is, why should we need a governor? Even now also, most of these state governments, opposition ruled state governments, are demanding abolition of this office of governor. So why do we need this office of governor then? What do the governors do? They stay in extremely luxurious, Raj Bhavans, extremely luxurious. I have one more dream, to become governor, right? From governor to get promotion to Rashtrapati Bhavan, the best luxurious hotel in the world, free of cost, right? So 350 rooms, right? So you don't have to pay any rent also, right? On top of it, you look at yourself. You are staying in Old Nagar. It is 4x4 room, 4 feet length and 4 feet width, and you are paying 20,000 rupees rent, right? Where is equality before law, right? So coming back here, our constitutional makers also have discussed about the relevance of office of governor. Why should there be any governor? So again, they had come to the same conclusion: unity and integrity of the nation. Unity and integrity of the nation, and also to protect and promote constitutionalism. They must make sure that the state government headed by the chief minister must function strictly according to the provisions of the constitution. Why? Because in the name of political populism, the state government can do anything or everything. In the name of political populism, they can take some extremely radical decisions also that can threaten the unity and integrity of the nation also. That is where you need governors, because as we keep on saying, the role of judiciary is only post-mortem in nature. We need a constitutional authority to prevent the misuse and abuse of power by the state governments. Just like at the central level we have the President of India, at the state level also we have the governors. For example, tomorrow Tamil Nadu Assembly, fed up with the governor and central government, will pass a resolution saying that tomorrow onwards Tamil Nadu will be part of Sri Lanka. Tamil connection, right? So similarly, Bengal Assembly will pass a resolution saying that East and West Bengal will be merged to rectify the wrongs committed in 1905. 2023 is the year. to rectify the wrongs. East and West Bengal will be merged, and Mamata Banerjee will be the president of United Bangladesh. Right? So they can do those things. Punjab will pass a resolution that from now onwards, Punjab no longer will be part of India. And they will become Khalistan. If they can do that, right? This is what you have to prevent. You have to prevent this kind of unconstitutional, exercise of power by the state governments. That is the reason why it was felt that we need this office of governor. We need the office of governor to make sure that the state governments will function strictly according to the provisions of the constitution. Please remember, India, with the kind of diversity that we have, there is always scope for these kind of secessionist tendencies. Regionalism, secessionism are still a major problems for the country, because we still did not have that is a sense of togetherness and belongingness. With the kind of diversity, it becomes difficult also to achieve that completely. And that is the reason why we need a strong central government, and we need also the office of governor to make sure that the state administration is carried out strictly according to the provisions of the constitution. That was the reason why our constitutional makers have said that we must have the office of governor. The next question is, how to select governors. Again, Constituent Assembly discussed about it. Should the governors be elected or should they be nominated? So, some members in the assembly had argued that to give more legitimacy to the office of governor, let the governor be elected by the people of the state. But this was opposed by rest of the members. Why? Because already we have a chief minister who is elected by the people. If a governor is also elected, what happens? It can lead to continuous conflicts between the governors and the chief ministers. That was the reason why it was said that let the governor be nominated by the president on the basis of the recommendations of Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister. So the governor is appointed by the president. The next question is, what about the tenure of governor? Again, constitutional makers have said that the governor will have a tenure of 5 years like any other constitutional authority, but they said that the governor can be removed before the expiry of his tenure by the president. The governor stays in power as long as he enjoys the confidence and pleasure of the president. All of them were included without having any thought. That is the reason why, after 1967, all these things had become extremely controversial. That means the governors do not have any fixed tenure. They can be removed by the president, means the prime minister at any point of time. So if any governor do not follow the orders of the central government, do not act as the representative of a ruling political party at the central government, then what the central government can do? Immediately remove that governor. As I said, these are some of the thoughtless actions of our constitutional makers, which had become so controversial now. So, and then what are the other provisions? The same person can be appointed as governor of more than one state also. He can be the governor of 2 states. He can be the governor of 3 states also. And then there is no time limit. There are no number of tenure for governors. A governor can be, his tenure can be extended by the central government for any length of time. He can be governor for 5 years. It can be extended by another 5 years. After that, it can be extended by another 5 years. Right? He can be the governor for any length of time. So, if you want to stay as governor for more period of time, what you will have to do? You have to follow the dictates of the ruling political party at the center. If you are in the good books of a ruling political party at the center, you will continue as a governor. That results in politicization. right? So next one is the most important one. What are the discretionary powers of governor? What are the powers our constitutional makers had given to governors? Our governors, we say, have so many discretionary powers. What do you mean by discretionary power? We say that discretionary power means the power which they can exercise on their own without having a constitutional guideline as such. According to their own thought process, they can exercise the power. So what are the discretionary powers of the governor? Right. So what are the discretionary powers of governor? If you cannot see me, you should feel happy. Why should you complain? I don't know whether you're getting bored or not. I'm getting bored looking at all your faces all the time. Familiarity breeds contempt, right? So you don't have any option, please remember. Right? So coming back here, governor, we say, has 3 important discretionary powers. That means wherein he can take the decisions on his own. First one is regarding the appointment of a chief minister. Appointment of chief minister. First discretionary power of governor is regarding the appointment of chief minister. Our constitution has not prescribed any kind of procedure to be followed by the governors while appointing the chief ministers. Governor can appoint any person as chief minister whom he thinks commands majority on the floor of the house in the state legislative assembly. First one is regarding the appointment of chief ministers. Second is regarding imposition of Article 356. Governor can recommend imposition of Article 356 for a breakdown of constitutional machinery. And who will decide what is breakdown of constitutional machinery? Governor. And what do we mean by breakdown of constitutional machinery? What do we mean by breakdown of constitutional machinery? Someone is taking constitution 80% and tearing it into pieces. Yes, that is where the problem. It has not been defined. So the governor is given the discretionary power to decide whether there is a breakdown of constitutional machinery in the state. And the third important discretionary power of governor is regarding giving assent to the bills passed by the state legislative assembly. Giving approval to the bills passed by state legislative assembly. These are the discretionary powers that the governor has, and all of them had become controversial during this phase. For example, take the third one. If a state legislative assembly has passed a bill, we say that governor has more discretionary powers than that of the president of the country. So what are the discretionary powers of governor? First one is he can give his approval. Then it becomes act, which is least likely if it is a state ruled by opposition parties. This is completely ruled out. If it is a state ruled by opposition parties, he will never give his approval. Recently, Telangana state government had approached the Supreme Court saying that the state assembly had passed bills 5,000 years back. The governor is yet to give her approval. Right? What happened in the Supreme Court we will discuss later. So first one is give approval, then it becomes an act. Second is reject the bill. Please remember, governor has absolute veto powers. President of India does not have absolute veto powers. The President of India has absolute veto powers only in case of private member bills. In case of treasury bills, public bills, in case of the bills passed by the state legislative assembly also, the governor can reject them without giving any reason also. Reject them. Right? Any number of times. I gave you the example, the NEET bill passed by the Tamil Nadu State Assembly. it was passed for the first time, governor had rejected it. Assembly had passed the bill again, second time, governor had rejected it. He said that you pass any number of times, I will reject it. Don't waste your time. Right? Then the governor can use a pocket veto. That is what I said Telangana state governor has done. There is no time limit for the governor to give opinion on the bill. There is no time limit. Next, governor can use suspensive veto. Can use suspensive veto. That is, governor can send back the bill to the Council of Ministers for reconsideration. If the same bill is passed with or without modifications, the governor shall give his approval. Suspensive veto. Then another veto power of governor is under Articles 200 and 201, the governor can send the bill to the president for his approval. He can send the bill to the president for his approval under Articles 200 and 201 of our Constitution. And as we discussed previously, the president has absolute veto powers. The president can reject the bill any number of times, and the president does not have to give any reasons. When our present Prime Minister was the Chief Minister of Gujarat between 2001 and 2014, Gujarat State Assembly would pass so many bills, governor would reject them, and the governor would send the bills to the president. President would reject them. Why? Because it was the time when opposition party was ruling at the center. So this is where we say about the discretionary powers of the governor when it comes to passing of bills. Yes. Then he shall give his approval. That's what I said. In case of suspensive veto, he can send back the bill to the Council of Ministers for reconsideration. If the Council of Ministers if the Assembly passes the same bill with or without modifications, he shall give his approval. That is the reason why no governor will use suspensive veto. When you have absolute veto, why suspensive veto? Exactly. Why the governor has been given so much of power? Why? Because it is assumed that governor will never use this power. That is what I said. Our constitutional makers had given so many powers to governors without looking at the implications of those powers. Why? Because they were under the assumption that same political party would be ruling. That is the reason why all of them had become so controversial. So now, as I said, during this phase of confrontational federalism, all of them had become extremely controversial. Let us give examples for all these things, right? We have seen the constitution related aspects. Now look at the practical political aspects. Pardon? If governor, yeah. What about allowances? Okay, very good question. Will he be getting 2 salaries, 2 allowances, 2 Raj Bhavans? Everything will be 2 only. Yes. Right now also the present governor of Telangana is also the lieutenant governor of Puducherry. Till recently, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana had only 1 governor. So they will get both of them. So you don't have to worry. You can. That's why I'm trying to become the governor of at least 20 states. 20 states. Right? Anyway, I don't have to give any approval to the bills. I don't have to do anything. Right? So during summers, I can go to Himachal Pradesh. Right? Just to take rest. Pardon? Very good. That is also true. When they take human form, they have to be limited by human beings, right? So anyway, we can do one thing. We can take break here for some time. Then I will come back and look at the political aspects. We will look at all those examples wherein governors have misused their powers. So let us look at a few examples of misuse of these discretionary powers by governors during this phase of confrontational federalism. So in 1969, elections were held to Rajasthan State Assembly. Bharatiya Janata Sangh, the present BJP, it had emerged as the single largest party, and it had a support of other MLAs, so that it could command majority on the floor of the House. By this time, as we have discussed, we have seen the politicization of the office of president also. So the governor of the state had recommended to the president that there is breakdown of constitutional machinery in the state because the Congress party could not form the government. Breakdown of constitutional machinery. So, and the governor had recommended imposition of Article 356 and dissolution of state assembly. That is where the problem is. The governors have so much of discretionary power without any accountability. Even though Bharatiya Janata Sangh had majority on the floor of the House with some independents, the governor did not invite them to form the government. Why? Because the governor has the discretionary power to decide who can be the chief minister. And at this point of time, Bhairav Singh Shekhawat, who was the leader of Bharatiya Janata Sangh, at that point of time, who went on to become the vice president of our country also, he had approached the Supreme Court saying that a governor had misused his powers. And Supreme Court had said that they would not interfere in the discretionary powers of governors, because the actions of governors cannot be questioned in a court of law. This was the phase the Supreme Court was mostly not proactive. They did not want to cross the boundaries. They did not want to erase this separation of powers. So Supreme Court has said that they would not look into the discretionary powers of governors and the president. This was the time, please remember, the President of India had more discretionary powers, because under Article 74, the President may abide by the aid and advice given by the Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister. Here the President could have rejected, saying that this is wrong. He should invite the other political party to form the government. But again, this was also the period of politicization of the office of President. This is what happened in 1969. Then in 1971, elections were held to West Bengal State Assembly. So in that West Bengal State Assembly, the total strength is around 292 seats. You require around 147 to get majority. 147 to get majority. It was a hung assembly. That means no political party got majority. But CPM, along with the support of CPI, Forward Bloc and other independents, they had majority in the state assembly. Along with all these parties, had majority in the state assembly. They approached the governor saying that we have majority, please invite us to form the government. What did the governor do? Governor had invited a political party with 30 MLAs out of 294. A political party with 30 MLAs to form the government. Now, recently, one of the editorials had written that it should be made mandatory that our governors must have a knowledge of constitution, especially with what Tamil Nadu governor has done. Not constitution, they must have knowledge of CSAT. Let them take CSAT. For you it is 1/3. Let it be cut off, for them will be 1/10. Right? So governor had invited a political party with 30 MLAs supported by Congress party with around 50 MLAs. Combined together, you have 80 MLAs. Majority required is 147. And this political party was given 1 month time to prove majority. Why this 1 month? You can buy MLAs. Don't say horse riding, donkey riding. Right? You know, it is not horse trading, donkey trading. Right? You know, don't compare MLAs. Right? So coming back here, 50 MLAs, and they were given 1 month time. After 1 month, obviously they could not prove majority. At least this time what the governor should have done? Invited the CPM to form the government. And the governor had written to the central government that there is breakdown of constitutional machinery in the state because Congress party could not form the government in spite of its best efforts to buy MLAs. So I am recommending for imposition of Article 356 and dissolution of State Assembly also. That was done, and elections were held to Bengal State Assembly in 1972. Again, one more time. And this time, Congress party had become much more proactive, and there was a lot of what you call rigging in elections. Young leaders of Congress party at that point of time indulged in a lot of violence. You know, there were young leaders like Mamata Banerjee. Mamata Banerjee was young leader of Congress party in 1972. At some point of time, everyone is young in their life, right? So Mamata Banerjee had become popular only during this time, right? And there was so much of violence in Bengal elections at that point of time. Even now also you can see, you know, these panchayat elections in Bengal, we are witnessing so much of violence. First they will beat people, then they will beat more, then they will kill you, after that they will talk to you. So that the negotiations are peaceful, right? So there is so much, this was the period of what we said, the criminalization of politics also. The violence committed by the party was so severe that after 1972 till now, Congress party did not come to power in the state of Bengal. People were so terrified of violence that after that till now Congress party did not come to power in the state of Bengal. So that is what happened in Bengal. Then what are the other instances of misuse of Article 352? In 1977, as we know, Janata Party came to power at the central level. What did Janata Party do? Recommended to India to dismiss 9 state governments ruled by Congress party using Article 356. Why? What is the reason? In all those 9 states, when elections were held to Parliament, that is to Lok Sabha, Congress party was defeated. For example, in UP, 85 seats. That was before the division of UP into UP and Uttarakhand. Out of 85 seats, Congress party got 0. Bihar, 54 seats. Congress party got 0. Gujarat, 26. They got 0. Rajasthan, 25. They got 0. Indira Gandhi, Sanjay Gandhi, everyone was defeated in those elections. So the Janata government had come out with an argument saying that in the elections that were held to Lok Sabha, Congress party was rejected by the people. So these Congress governments in these 9 states had lost moral authority to rule. They had lost the moral authority to rule. That is the reason why they should be dismissed. Right? So what is the major problem with this kind of argument? In India, elections are held separately to state legislative assemblies and parliament. People have the right to elect one political party to assembly, another political party to Lok Sabha. Just because you have lost elections in Lok Sabha, does it mean that your state governments also be dismissed? That is what Congress, Janata Party has done. Misuse of Article 356. And the President, as I said, this time, this is the period of politicization of the office of President. President had given his approval. All the states were dismissed. Elections were held. In those 9 states, Janata Party came to power after the elections. History repeats. In 1980, elections were held to Lok Sabha. Congress Party came to power in elections held to Lok Sabha in 1980. What did Congress Party do? Again, in all those states, Janata Party was defeated in the elections that were held to Lok Sabha. Congress Party had recommended to the President the same thing. They have sent the same communication with spelling mistakes also to ensure consistency. Right? They said that in the elections that were held to Lok Sabha, in all these 9 states, Janata Party was defeated. So, Janata Party had lost moral authority to rule these states. Again, the President had given his approval for a dismissal of all the state governments using Article 356. That is how we say misuse of Article 356 for political purposes. Misuse of Article 356 for political purposes. This was also the period of what we said, the politicization of the office of President. Please remember, the Presidents had discretionary powers. After 44th Amendment, the President could have sent back the recommendation to the Council of Ministers for reconsideration using the suspensive veto. But the President did not use it. Why? Because this was the period of politicization of the office of President. So this is what happened in 1980. And a major misuse of this Article 356 took place in 1984 in Andhra Pradesh. It was very significant because for the first time, central government was forced to go back on its action of imposing Article 356. Central government was forced to recall the governor and reinstate the chief minister also. For the first time in the history of political history of the country, wherein the misuse of Article 356 was prevented. So what happened in Andhra Pradesh in 1984? To know about what happened in Andhra Pradesh in 1984, we should know a little bit of the political history of Andhra Pradesh. Since most of you are from north, you don't know much about south. Of course, it does not mean that you know something about north, right? Right? So, coming back here, Andhra Pradesh, as all of you know, was the first state to be created on linguistic lines. Since it had come into existence, Andhra Pradesh was ruled only by Congress Party. From 1947 till 1983, 35 years continuously, it was only the Congress Party that ruled the state. There was no opposition in Andhra Pradesh. And if you look at all other states in India, opposition parties had come to power at some point of time. In Kerala, 1957 itself. In Karnataka, in 1980s. In Tamil Nadu, 1967. And the rest of India, also opposition parties had come to power. But Andhra Pradesh is the only state wherein you don't find any opposition party coming to power. So if you are ruling a state continuously for a period of 35 years, automatically you become arrogant. As we studied in our ethics paper, if you want to know the true personality of a person, give him power. So you become totally arrogant. That is what exactly happened with the Congress Party. In 1977 elections to Lok Sabha also, in rest of the country, Congress Party was comprehensively defeated. As I said, in Uttar Pradesh, out of 85 seats, they got only 0 seats. Whereas in Andhra Pradesh, out of 42 seats, they got all seats, 100% success rate. It was an exception to the general trend. It has been traditionally been a strong bastion of Congress Party. So when you rule the state for such a long period of time, automatically you become arrogant. That is what exactly happened. Between 1978 and between 1983, during this 5-year time, the state had witnessed so much of political instability. There were 4 chief ministers within a period of 5 years, because Congress High Command, Indira Gandhi, they would keep on changing the chief ministers. The moment they believe that one chief minister is becoming popular, then they will remove that chief minister with another chief minister. Why? Because you do not want any strong state leaders, because they can become competitors to the central leadership. In those days, it was said that Times of India, R.K. Lakshman, had published a cartoon how the chief minister was selected. So Indira Gandhi would ask all the leaders from Andhra Pradesh to stand in line in front of her. She would move 1, 2, 3, 4, and she will stop at a 4th person and say that you are the chief minister. And then she will ask her, tell me what is your name. That is how chief ministers were selected. Right? Same thing right now, we can see. History repeats. The same thing right now with BJP also. Right? No political leader wants any kind of rival. The moment you have any strong and powerful rivals, there will always be political instability. That was the reason why, as long as Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was there, Nehru could not exercise any power. That's the reason why after the death of Patel, Nehru has made sure that there would not be any number 2 in the Congress party. Nobody likes number 2. So this was what happening in Andhra Pradesh. At that point of time, the chief minister of Andhra Pradesh was a person belonging to backward caste. He started his career as a railway coolie and then went on to become the chief minister. So after the death of Sanjay Gandhi in 1980 in a plane crash, Indira Gandhi had requested her elder son, Rajiv Gandhi, to enter into politics. Rajiv Gandhi entered into politics. He had become the general secretary of the Congress party. The unwritten rule in the Congress party is that whenever any person from the first family visit any state, the chief minister should go to the airport and receive them with all kind of honor, prestige, dignity and everything else. So one fateful day, Rajiv Gandhi was visiting Hyderabad, and he came to Hyderabad airport, and unfortunately on that day there was traffic jam in the city. The chief minister, he could not reach the airport on time, and Rajiv Gandhi would not come out of the aircraft. Why? Because he will come out of the aircraft only when the chief minister would go to the aircraft and would invite the person to get down. Protocol. Right? So Rajiv Gandhi was forced to sit in the aircraft for half an hour, and he could not tolerate this kind of nonsense from slaves. Right? Obviously. And then he came out of the aircraft. Those were the days without television channels and everything else. It was only print media. All the journalists were there, and the chief minister was also running to the aircraft. Rajiv Gandhi himself ran from the aircraft, and one started abusing the chief minister in chaste Punjabi and Hindi, English languages. Fortunately, as we know, Punjabi language has rich vocabulary. When it comes to abuses, right? Of course, why only Punjabi? Every language also, right? So, and he was scolding the chief minister like anything by using all kinds of colorful, terms, and this has stunned the people there, because the chief minister, a constitutional authority of a state, was being scolded by a person who did not hold any kind of position within the government also. He was only the general secretary of the Congress party. He was not even a union cabinet minister also. And immediately it was reported in the papers next day, newspapers. This is where everyone started talking about the hurt that was caused to the self-esteem of Telugu people. And if you look at Indian politics since independence, mostly it is ethnicity and race that dominated them. There is always this conflict between what is called Aryan and Dravidian. In North India, they are called Aryans, and those who are from South are called Dravidian race. And the entire politics of Tamil Nadu revolves around only this Dravidian politics. So what happened here? Suddenly, the self-esteem of Telugu people was hurt. And the newspapers have said that these Congress leaders have sacrificed the prestige, honor, and self-esteem of Telugu people on the streets of Delhi for few positions. In India, politics are always revolving around emotional factors only. It is the emotions and sentiments that always determine electoral outcomes. 2019 elections, it was nothing but Balakot, Pulwama attack and Balakot bombings. And our Prime Minister has said that every young person in the country who is a patriot should always remember the sacrifices made by the army men when voting in elections. So that's what emotional factors only, mostly. In 1971, Indira Gandhi had given the call, Garibi Hatao. All Garib in the country, they wanted to be hataud. Right? And they have voted for Congress party. Of course, her son, Sanjay Gandhi, had a problem with the Hindi language. He thought it was Garib Hatao. So he started killing all poor people also. Very good. If you kill poor people, there will not be any poverty. I don't know why Nobel committees do not recognize this kind of economics. Right? If there are no poor people, there is no poverty. Einstein would have committed suicide looking at this kind of ideas also. Why he did not get those kind of ideas? So coming back here, so this is what was happening. The people of the state were literally burning inside, but they could not do anything. Why? Because there was no opposition party in Andhra Pradesh. At this point of time, this political vacuum was filled in by a film actor. This actor's name is N.T. Ramarao, and he acted in more than 300 films. And he acted as Lord Krishna in more than 35 films, the same role. And Lord Ram in similarly more than a very good number of films also. Even now also, for people of Andhra Pradesh, if Lord Ram or Lord Krishna come in front of them and they are not like N.T. Ramarao, they will ask them, please get lost, come with your real form also. Don't come with your fake identities, come with your Aadhaar card and also real form also. That is the kind of image he had. And he was very popular as a film actor. For example, in early 1980s, Amitabh Bachchan was the undisputed superstar of Indian cinema. And Amitabh Bachchan used to charge around 12 lakh rupees per film. 12 lakhs in 1980 was a huge amount of money. With 12 lakhs, so you can buy the whole of Rajanagar also. Right? So, N.T. Ramarao, he used to charge 20 lakh rupees per film. And his films were restricted only to Andhra Pradesh. He acted in more than 300 films, 270 of them were super hits. Amitabh Bachchan, he acted in around 100 films, out of which 60% of them are hits. So that is the kind of comparison. So he had decided that he would take plunge into politics. And he started a political party, Telugu Desam Party, basically talking about the pride, self-respect, prestige, honor and self-esteem of Telugu people. He started the political party. And normally when film actors enter into politics, what you can see is that most of them are looking for only one thing, Rajya Sabha membership. If you see most of the film actors, right from Rekha to Hemalini to Lata Mangeshkar to everyone else, they are looking for Rajya Sabha membership. So when N.T. Ramarao has decided to enter into politics, Indira Gandhi had called him, said that don't start any political party, I will make you Rajya Sabha member. I will give you Rajya Sabha seat. N.T. Ramarao, after acting as a God in so many films, in real life also he used to think that he is God. Same kind of arrogance. Indira Gandhi was highly egoistic person, so is N.T. Ramarao. So N.T. Ramarao replied that, wait for some time, I will make you Rajya Sabha MP from my state. Indira Gandhi could never expect that kind of answer. She was the ultimate dictator of the country at that point of time. Indira Gandhi, a role model for our present. No comments, right? Right. So, coming back here, and as I said, in India, electoral outcomes are always decided by emotional factors. So, what did N.T. Ramarao do? Apart from talking about this, Telugu pride and everything else, he had used another important person for election campaign. That person was Maneka Gandhi. Maneka Gandhi, she was Miss India in 1970s, and Sanjay Gandhi was forced to marry Maneka Gandhi under difficult circumstances. Beyond that, I cannot say anything. Right? Maneka Gandhi belonged to a Jat family in Punjab, Haryana region. We know they are very confident and aggressive. So, in the Indira Gandhi's household, we are talking about mid 1970s, 1975 that time. This Sanjay Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, and Indira Gandhi, all these families would stay in the same house. Hum aapke hai kaun? Family, joint family, that's what we are saying. Right? Joint family. So every day in the morning, during the breakfast, all of them would meet because they were very busy people, Indira Gandhi, Prime Minister. So they would meet morning in the breakfast. Indira Gandhi will be there. And then Rajiv Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi was also there. Sanjay Gandhi and Maneka Gandhi. And right. So then please remember, communication is always very important. Language is the most important part of communication. Sonia Gandhi, she was not very good with the English language. And Indira Gandhi has a very little knowledge of Italian language, Roman. Right? So on the breakfast table, it will be very simple conversation. Good morning, good morning. How are you? How are you? I'm fine, I'm fine. Right? Then, but that is not the case with Maneka Gandhi. Fortunately, she has the luxury of a Punjabi language. And so, Indira Gandhi was first a woman, then mother-in-law, then Prime Minister. Long before Ekta Kapoor had made these Saas Bahu serials popular, kyonki, right? Right? This drama was playing out fully in the household of Indira Gandhi. There was this journalist called Kushwant Singh, very popular. He died long time back. He would write all these things because he was the neighbor of Indira Gandhi. So, in those days, so he would write all these things. That's the reason why we come to know all these things, right? So, Indira Gandhi wanted to control, dominate Maneka Gandhi. She would tell Maneka Gandhi, now you have to wash clothes, and then cook food, and sweep the floor, like this, typical mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. But the problem here is that Maneka Gandhi is not a typical daughter-in-law. On top of it, Punjabi Jat. And she would in turn, would tell Indira Gandhi that you have to do all the things. If you don't, I will beat you. Indira Gandhi had imposed emergency in 1975. For 19 months, she had taken away the fundamental rights of all the people. God is always there. As you study in physics, every action will have. Exactly. When she was taking away the fundamental rights of all the people, within her household, she was not enjoying any of those fundamental rights. A right against exploitation. So, Maneka Gandhi would force Indira Gandhi to wash clothes, right? To sweep the floor, Otherwise, she will beat. Emergency, different kind in the household. Right? So, and Indira Gandhi was waiting for an opportunity to take on Maneka Gandhi. In 1980, Sanjay Gandhi died. And Maneka Gandhi had a young child, months-old child. And it was the month of December. Then suddenly Kushwant Singh would write that he heard some kind of voices from Indira Gandhi's household. Someone is shouting at the top of her voice. And it was Indira Gandhi. Like that you see in those dramas and films. She would take the suitcase of Maneka Gandhi, put her clothes, and throw that suitcase outside, saying that now you get out of the house. I don't want you to see in my house even for a single second also. So Maneka Gandhi was thrown out of the house in the middle of the night with her young child. It happened. It happened. I said first Indira Gandhi, a woman, then mother-in-law, then only Prime Minister. So she was thrown out of the house. Maneka Gandhi, she had come out of Indira Gandhi's household. Then she started her own political party, Sanjay Vichar Manch. Later she had merged that party with the BJP later. So why are we talking about this? N.T. Ramarao would request Maneka Gandhi for campaigning in Andhra Pradesh. Maneka Gandhi would explain to the people of Andhra Pradesh, especially women, how Indira Gandhi had treated her. N.T. Ramarao would translate that into Telugu language with adding more masala. Because being a film actor, he knew how to exploit emotions. Being a film actor. Right? So, and then he would ask a rhetorical question. You know, this old wicked lady, Indira Gandhi, she could not protect her own widowed daughter-in-law. Can she protect the women of Andhra Pradesh? And the women of Andhra Pradesh, highly emotional, they would cry. And they would abuse Indira Gandhi. And you know what the outcome also. Elections were held and N.T. Ramarao had come to power. Within 9 months, a Guinness Book record. Till now, nobody has started a political party and within 9 months came to power also. So N.T. Ramarao had become the Chief Minister in 1983, defeating the Congress party. Indira Gandhi never liked this fact that one person openly challenged her and also had become Chief Minister. After he had become Chief Minister, N.T. Ramarao immediately had decided to unite all opposition parties. So he had called a conclave of opposition chief ministers in Andhra Pradesh. That means a meeting of all opposition chief ministers. Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Punjab, like this, Odisha. These were the states that were ruled by opposition parties at that point of time. And Indira Gandhi wanted to preempt this move of N.T. Ramarao. So what did she do? She had immediately announced all of a sudden that she was setting up a commission to look into center-state relations, because it was more than 35 years of independence. So much has changed since independence. Let look into center-state relations and come out with their recommendations. And this commission was headed by Justice Sarkaria, popularly known as Sarkaria Commission. So this opposition chief ministers conclave was held and they made all those radical demands. What did they demand? They demanded this removal, abolition of the office of governor, because governor was the one who was proving to be extremely the controversial, politicized. They demanded repeal of Article 356 from the Constitution. They demanded discontinuation of All India services, because these All India services officers, they are appointed by the central UPSC. Their pay and other service conditions are decided by the central government, but they are working in the states. The states do not have any real control over these All India service officers. They said that this All India service officers is against the federal principles of our constitution, so they should be discontinued. They also demanded dismantling of a planning commission, because planning commission by this time had become extremely controversial. Why? Because planning commission grants are mostly what is called discretionary grants. As we study later, finance commission was not as controversial as a planning commission because finance commission grants are given through a formula. There is no scope for any kind of discretionary powers as far as the central government are concerned when it comes to finance commission. Whereas planning commission grants were mostly discretionary. That means according to the discretion of planning commission members. And most of these all these planning commission members were appointed by the central government. So they would be favoring only those states which are ruled by same political party at the center. That was the reason why opposition parties have demanded that this planning commission should be dismantled, because it was an institution that was highly biased in favor of those states which are ruled by same political party at the center. So they made all these kind of radical demands. And then what happened? In 1984 August, as I said, Indira Gandhi was waiting for an opportunity to dismiss this state government led by N.T. Ramarao. She could not digest the fact that one person had openly challenged her and also had become the chief minister. So in 1984 August, N.T. Ramarao, he went to America for a bypass surgery, and she got an opportunity. Normally what this Congress party had done earlier and what BJP is also doing now, every political party will do the same thing. Congress and BJP are the opposite sides of the same coin. So what do? They would engineer a split in the party. That is what BJP has done in Karnataka and Maharashtra and also Madhya Pradesh. Congress party started it, BJP perfected the art. Right. So someone is asking, don't the Prime Minister have maids in their house? They have maids, but Indira Gandhi was maid. She was made the prime maid. Right? So that is what it is. You don't know about these kind of Indian households. Right? As I said, first Indira Gandhi was a woman, then mother-in-law, then only Prime Minister. And Maneka Gandhi was a daughter-in-law and daughter-in-law only. Right? So, right. So coming back here, then N.T. Ramarao, he went to America for bypass surgery. Immediately, what did Congress party do? They engineered a split in the party. The Andhra Pradesh State Assembly is 294. So you require 148 members. TDP, Telugu party at that point of time, had around 210 seats. And they had the support of this BJP and left parties, around 20 members. So they had almost 230 members, 220 to 230 members. So what did the Congress party do? 210 members, around 50 of them had split. And a person named Bhaskar Rao, he had split the party and approached the governor saying that like what is happening in Maharashtra and other states also. Right? Governor saying that I have majority, so I should be made the chief minister with 50 MLAs. Right? And Congress party had around 40 MLAs in the state assembly. Congress party has said that they would support this government. 50 plus 40, 90 MLAs. Right? What is majority required? 148. That is what I said. Governors should be taking CSAT examination. So what did he do? This Bhaskar Rao, he went to Raj, is the place where the governors stay. And along with him, he took around 500 people. All of them were given the dress of MLAs. MLA dress code is there. And the governor counted. How many of them are there? 500. What is the strength of state assembly? 294. He felt so happy. But states, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala are coming to his government. That is how the governors will do. Yes. I think, there is problem with battery. Battery cannot have the same kind of energy that the person in front of you has. Myself and Banerjee, both of us have a lot of energy. Right? Right. That is what they say in Bengal. In Bengal, they have Banerjees, Chatterjees, and Mukherjees, but not energies. See, as I said, these are all only for us to laugh only. Beyond that, nothing else. Right? As I keep on saying, if you look at India with so much of diversity, you can always find humor everywhere where you go. Right? So, otherwise, we are not here to hurt the sentiments, just only for us to find the lighter side of life. So, coming back here, immediately, what did the governor do? Governor had dismissed N.T. Ramarao as chief minister and has invited this Bhaskar Rao to form the government. And this Bhaskar Rao was, as usual, given 1 month time to prove majority on the floor of the house, so that he can buy MLAs also. And that is what normally, that is the reason why 1 month time is given. Thank God that the governor did not give 5 years time to prove majority also. Given an opportunity, governors will do that also. So coming back here, and immediately when N.T. Ramarao heard about this, he came back from America, he returned from America. He had the support of more than 170 MLAs in spite of all these things. He had the support of more than 170 MLAs. And then 20 MLAs from there's BJP and the Communist parties also supporting his government. So what did he do? He took all these MLAs, around 180 of them, and all of them had come to Delhi. From airport, they went straight away to Rashtrapati Bhavan. The president was the Jail Singh. So they demanded that the president should come and take the count of the MLAs and immediately dismiss the Bhaskar Rao government. And the president had invited them to Rashtrapati Bhavan. He said that, why are you standing outside the gates of Rashtrapati Bhavan? Please come inside. I will talk to you and I will try to solve your problem. But N.T. Ramarao, as I said, being a film actor, you know how to exploit emotions of people. So he said that now democracy is on the road. Right? So he wanted the president to come out of Rashtrapati Bhavan and take a count of the MLAs. All the MLAs had come out with their identity cards also. The president had no option. He came out, met all these MLAs and satisfied that N.T. Ramarao had majority on the floor of the house. After that, the president, Jail Singh, had requested Indira Gandhi. Indira Gandhi was called to Rashtrapati Bhavan. And the president has said that this is highly embarrassing situation for me because this person has majority. Still, he was removed as chief minister. As we have discussed, the governor has discretionary powers to appoint as well as remove chief ministers. What the governor has done was completely wrong. And the president has said that you please immediately take some action. The governor of the state was a politician from Himachal Pradesh. His name was Ram Lal. In those days in Andhra Pradesh, they used to call him Ravan Lal. Right? So, because the original Ram was N.T. Ramarao. Right? So, then immediately the government was forced to take action. That is what we say. If any governor acts in an unconstitutional manner, then the president has the power to remove the governor. And this is what the government has done exactly. The governor was removed. Ramlal was removed as governor. In his place, Shankar Dayal Sharma was appointed as governor. Shankar Dayal Sharma, who went on to become the president of India later. Shankar Dayal Sharma had asked immediately Bhaskar Rao to prove majority on the floor of the house. Sarkari Commission or Supreme Court or any other commissions or committees have repeatedly said that the majority of the government should be tested only on the floor of the house. So Shankar Dayal Sharma had asked Bhaskar Rao to prove his majority on the floor of the house. He could not prove and he was dismissed. N.T. Ramarao was reinstated as chief minister. For the first time in the history of our country, the misuse of Article 356 was prevented due to the popular agitation. N.T. Ramarao had become the chief minister. He had proved his majority on the floor of the house. After proving majority on the floor of the house, he had requested the governor to dissolve the state legislative assembly. If the chief minister has majority and if he requests the governors to dissolve the state legislative assembly, the governor will have to do the same. Assembly dissolution took place. Elections were held in 1985. And by this time, Indira Gandhi was killed. And in her place, Rajiv Gandhi had become Prime Minister of the country. Elections were held to Lok Sabha and the State Assembly. All over the country, due to the sympathy wave generated by the assassination of Indira Gandhi, Congress party got more than 420 seats in Lok Sabha, except in Andhra Pradesh. Why? Because this removal of N.T. Ramarao was a much bigger emotional factor than assassination of Indira Gandhi. So in Andhra Pradesh, N.T. Ramarao had returned to power. In Lok Sabha, out of 42 seats, he had more than 35 seats also. With the 35 seats in Lok Sabha, his political party have emerged as the single largest party in Lok Sabha. And in 1984 also, in 1985 also, we did not have any leader of opposition in Lok Sabha. Because for a political party to be called the opposition party, it requires minimum 1/10. So this is what exactly happened in Andhra Pradesh in 1984, wherein for the first time, the central government was forced to take back its decision to impose Article 356 and also not impose Article 356 to replace a chief minister who was enjoying majority on the floor of the house with another chief minister. And the governor was removed and the previous chief minister was reinstalled. This is where we can say prevention of a misuse of powers of governors. In 1988, a similar event took place. In 1988, this time it took place in Karnataka. Karnataka at that point of time was ruled by the Janata Party, and S.R. Bommai was the chief minister of Karnataka. The present, previously the chief minister of now BJP government was also Basavaraj Bommai. This Basavaraj Bommai is the son of S.R. Bommai, who was the chief minister of Karnataka in 1988. As usual, the Karnataka governor had dismissed S.R. Bommai's government using Article 356 without giving opportunity for S.R. Bommai to prove his majority on the floor of the house. Article 356 was imposed, chief minister was removed, presidential was imposed, and the state assembly dissolution also took place. S.R. Bommai, he had decided to approach judiciary, saying that his government was unfairly dismissed using Article 356. And Supreme Court had come out with a landmark judgment in what is popularly known as S.R. Bommai versus Union of India case in 1994. So we will discuss what are the contents of the judgment a little bit later. So this is what happened during the period of what is called confrontational federalism. As I said, Sarkari Commission has pointed out that during this period, Article 356 was used for more than 100 times, and in maximum number of instances, it was used only to benefit the ruling political party at the center. Complete politicization. Misuse of Article 356. As we have discussed, Ambedkar wanted Article 356 to be the dead letter of our constitution. Unfortunately, it proved to be the most active and most misused provision of our constitution. So this period, why we had a confrontational federalism? Why? Because a strong and powerful central government was trying to resist the demand of the states which are asking for more power from the central government. Please remember, our constitution is highly skewed in favor of central government. Now, what happened during this period? Opposition parties had come to power at the states. They realized the fact that all the provisions of the constitution are highly skewed in favor of central government. So they wanted the central government to share some of those powers with the states. So this power fight was going on between the center and states. And these opposition ruled states do not want the central government to misuse the provisions of the constitution. That led to the conflict. That is the reason why during this period we have seen these opposition parties making all these radical demands, like a repeal of Article 356, abolition of the office of governor, discontinuation of all India services, dismantling of planning commission, because they felt that all these are the examples of central government's complete dominance over the states. So this is what happened during the phase of confrontational federalism. From this phase of confrontational federalism, by 1990, we have moved towards what is called the next phase, cooperative federalism. As I said, this cooperative federalism was asked for 250 marks in our general essay also. So suddenly the question that we have to answer here is, how did we move from confrontation to cooperation? What kind of changes that had taken place during the intervening period that we have seen complete transformation in center-state relations from a phase of confrontation to a phase of cooperation. What happened? What are the major events that had taken place in 1990s? That is what we also have to discuss, and then we also have to look at what are the events that led to cooperative federalism, and what exactly is this cooperative federalism. And then of course we have to also look at why again the situation had returned to the previous phases. Right now after 2019 we have said that again we have moved towards a phase wherein we are witnessing again a strong powerful central government trying to dominate the states, and again this is resulting in a phase of conflict between the center and states also, right? So you can just write a few lines about this confrontational federalism, few lines about confrontational federalism. What happened during this phase? After 1967, for the first time, in 9 states, you have written all the things. Opposition parties had come to power. You have written? Okay, then you can write down then next sentence you can write. This phase witnessed continuous conflict between the center and states, regarding sharing of power and also misuse of various provisions of constitution, by the ruling political party at the center. Opposition ruled states demanded abolition of the office of governor, removal of Article 356, dismantling planning commission, and discontinuation of all India services. As pointed out by Sarkaria Commission, this phase witnessed frequent misuse of Article 356, misuse of Article 356 to benefit ruling political party at the center. In states like Rajasthan, Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, and so on. So I think we can stop it here. Tomorrow we will continue, and we will talk about the third phase, and we will talk about so many Supreme Court judgments also.